Just gonna check if we're live now.
I did say going live stream. It's gone live stream.
Oh, good. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here tonight. And I'm actually super excited. I have someone amazing here with me tonight. And as you may notice, Liz is not here tonight. So I'm going to try to do the amazing job that she does to be a hostess because she's pretty great with that. I'm going to try my very best, guys. And we have an amazing topic today, right? January, we talked about the power of vision. And, I thought it was a great way to start the year, with vision. And now we're going to talk about the winning mindset. So why the winning mindset? If you have vision, you have a powerful vision, you're not able to move forward. There's something that's obviously going on there. And there's so many people that might be stuck in this type of mindset. Whereas on the other side, there's the winning mindset. There are people that are able to push through. How and why are they able to do this? There's someone amazing who I believe has an extraordinary journey. I've listened to her story before and she inspires me. And she's like a big sister. She's like a mentor. I've never said that to her before. So yes, you're my mentor, sis.
I have been duly informed.
I always go to, she's one of those people that I can call as an entrepreneur and, in life and ask questions. And she's awesome that way. She has amazing experience. So I'm going to bring on board Tokesaro tonight. She's the owner and founder and CEO of the Baby Cut Shop in Chelsea, London. It's an award-winning, she has lovely, lovely products. I've been able to visit the store once, and it's such a beautiful place with lovely, lovely products. She's been able to bring that to life. Our journey has been an interesting one. If we have time, I don't know if she'll be able to share part of that journey with you today, hopefully. And she's also the founder of the podcast Living Inside Out with Tokes. You might want to visit that and tune in. Follow her on Facebook. We'll try and drop her handles so you guys can follow her and listen to our podcast. So, Tokes, how are you today?
I am so good, Tolu. Thank you for having me. How's your day been?
It's been great. It's been great, actually. All the more better now that you're here. Your gorgeous face.
Thank you. It's a nice way to wrap up a Saturday evening, isn't it?
It is. Sort of like a nightcap where you just chill and just talk about the important things of life. Because
exactly.
I feel like we talk about money, we talk about pushing and aspiring and, achieving things. And a lot of the times we leave the important parts, how to get there, why people struggle, what are the tools that we need, to get there. And I feel like our mind is one of the most powerful places where if everything is sorted in that space, you find it easier to push forward in life. And there's a scripture that I love that says that we should guard our hearts, with all diligence, because out of it are the issues of life. That's a very powerful scripture, which I don't even think we've been able to go through the depth of that scripture and just how powerful it is. But anyway, to start with, Tokes, I'm going to ask you tonight, how do you win with your mind? What does the win mindset mean to you? How do you,
a winning mindset? I think first of all, you need to know that you actually can win in life with your mind, for starters. Recognizing that winning in life begins with winning in your mind as a first instance, and it is a possibility. We're made up of spirit, soul, and body. I talk about this all the time because I feel like without knowing who we are as humans and what we consist of, it's going to be very difficult to have to be able to navigate life and also have an effect in what we see. So spirit, soul, and body in that order. Your spirit was created first, and it is the most superior part of you. And your soul is the container for your mind. That's where you experience emotions and thoughts, and your memories are stored there and so on. And then your body is obviously the physical side of you that interacts with the world. Your spirit, on the other hand, it's connected to God. That's why it's the supreme part of you, or the superior part of you. And your mind and your spirit are invisible. But because we're humans and we are tactile beings and we're sensual beings, most of us operate mainly with our body and of course with our mind, because, everyone is able to, contact, or not contact, but everyone is able to relate with the mind. Everyone can think, everyone has memories, everyone has desires. All of those happen in the mind. So if you're going to change what you see on the outside, you have to start with the inside, because everything that happens around you and everything that has happened up until this point only happened because you thought of something along those lines. And it was your thoughts and your thinking that propelled you to act in a certain way. And so now we've got to understand that if you have an idea, for example, for a business, I always talk about business because I'm a businesswoman. So if you have an idea for a business, the idea would have been birthed in your spirit, or given to you in your spirit by our Creator. And your spirit passes that idea into your mind, where all of the processing happens. That's when you think about things like names and what it is I'm going to produce. And you visualize the business in its finished form. You imagine having customers. You have a plan and a strategy for how you're going to bring it to fruition and how you're going to market it. All of that is going on in the mind. But until you physically now put your hand to the plow, put your hand to paper, pick up your email, start emailing, buy a domain name, get the products. Until you do the physical side of it, nothing's going to happen. So we have people who have great ideas and great abilities, because none of us were created without gifts and abilities. But then there is no manifestation happening because they have not passed it from the mind into the body for action to be taken. And for that to happen, you have to also understand that everything that is around you is food for your mind. Wherever you find yourself, whether it is in your living room watching the news, on your bed reading a book, on social media or on your phone, your friends, your colleagues at work, every single person, every single physical landscape, the whole of the physical landscape that you live in is feeding your mind. And whatever feeds your mind becomes your thoughts. And whatever you think about creates an emotion within you. And it is the emotions that inspire us to act. So, for example, I've had a season of feeling a little bit discouraged and not my usual, I have been cheerful on the outside, but, having some challenges that I've been dealing with. And it's because of the way I felt, I haven't been inspired to take action on what I know that I should take. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So that's the thing is, if you're going to create a winning mindset, you've got to start by working on your mind, because that's where everything starts from. It all begins in the thoughts, with the thoughts that we think. And how can we change our thoughts? By changing what we feed it with. How do we change what we feed it with? By changing our environment. There's no point in can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. There's no point in you going on and on about change you want to make and you want to win and you want to excel if your environment is instructing you to do the opposite of what's going to lead to excellence.
Lost you the last 5 seconds, Stokes.
Oh, did I disappear? Oh,
This is just the last 5 seconds.
Okay, I was saying that there's no point in having an intention, having a desire to work hard and to produce and to have to have the results that you desire You can have all the desire you want, you can have all the plans that you want, but if you don't take action, it's not going to happen. But for you to even get to the point of taking action, you've got to have the right thoughts. And to have the right thoughts, you've got to be in the right environment. If you're in a negative space, you're not going to produce negative thoughts, and they're therefore not going to take positive action. It just doesn't work that way. We act based on what our minds are fed with. And so that's the thing. If you're going to have a winning mindset, it all begins in the mind. You've got to start with your environment, what's around you, what am I feeding myself with? And there are a few other things as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tokes. And this is one of the reasons why we brought you on, because it's great when you see someone walking the journey and they can share from their own life's experience. So it's not just what you teach people, it's what you experience. And that's why it's so real to you, you know. I unpacked so many things in what you said. Being able to channel the gifts that you've been given in your spirit. So what you said and what I've heard is we're all created with gifts and abilities. We're all gifted with this, and that comes through our spirit. And then we have to be able to take that and transform that into ideas, which we now take and transform into the actual products. I hope I
That's right. Absolutely.
put that properly. And so that sounds like an easy process. If you think about it, like you think pam 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 1 2 3 should all just happen, but it doesn't always happen that way. And it sounds like there are blocks in there somewhere that stops people from being able to flow through and get to the final product.
Absolutely.
And there are many people that will testify or attest to the fact that there's a block somewhere at some point because they're not able to produce what they really want to produce. So what are some mind blocks that you know of, and why do people experience those mind blocks, and how can they overcome, and get the shift that they need so they can flow through and bring forth the products, bring forth the things that they're supposed to achieve, do the things they're supposed to achieve with their life?
So anything that interrupts the flow of an idea from your mind into the world, because that's the pathway that ideas go through. It goes from your spirit into your mind, from your mind into your body, and then your body takes action so that the whole world sees and enjoys and experiences it. Anything that interrupts the flow, either from it getting from your mind to your body or from your body into the world, I would call that a mind block. That's clearly an obstacle. So there can be wrong beliefs. For example, you can have a belief about yourself. A very easy one is, I'm not gifted. I don't have the gifts that are required. You can believe a lie. So which is a little bit different, where you don't believe you have the gifts because you were never told, or you just kind of grew up with a default mindset of negativity, perhaps based on your environment or your childhood, or you were not nurtured as a child. Your gifts will have never been nurtured and you don't know it's in there. And I want to say as well that we are so richly gifted that there are gifts you're not going to recognize or even discover until you're much older, not because of age, but because of experience, where you have to dig deeper and deeper into you as life becomes more complex, as we get older, you have to dig deeper to uncover resources, and you find like, oh my gosh, I've got this, I'm able to do this, I'm gifted in this area. And so that's one. Another reason we would have that would be lies that we believe. So on my podcast, Living Inside Out, I have an episode or 2 episodes called Lies We Believe and the Truth That Turn the Lies on Their Head. Something like that is the title, but it's called Lies We Believe. And I listed a few lies. I want to say about 6 or 7 very common lies that we tell ourselves. And one of them is, it's not supposed to be this way. So I used to have a friend who would say that to me regularly. She was a businesswoman herself and trying really hard to get her business off the ground, and also a Christian. But her belief was that because she was a Christian, things were supposed to pan out in a certain pattern, in a certain direction. She was not supposed to experience the hardship she was going through, and all of these things. Now, I'm not in a position to judge whether or not she was supposed to go through that or not, but I know that the more she repeated, it's not supposed to be this way, the more I began to absorb that mindset as well. And I began to believe that lie. Once I went to an event and I ran into an old friend, and she was asking me, hey, Talks, how's business? How's everything? And I said, it's really, really hard. Now, at that time, I was trying to be authentic and I was trying to be honest, and business really was very hard, because it is. And so when I left the conversation, when we parted ways, I asked myself, which is what I do, I'm sure we all do, like go back or play the whole day through and then put the day on replay and ask yourself, why did I say what I said? And if you don't do that, it's a very good practice for self-awareness. So I asked myself, why did I say that? Why did I say business was hard? Who told me that it was supposed to be easy? Where was I given the notification that it's actually supposed to be easy? What if the path I'm on, as challenging as it is, what if this is actually the way there? What if it's supposed to be hard the way that it's hard? So I came away from that introspective moment, understanding that and recognizing that there are truths you have to choose to believe, even if the whole world is telling you otherwise. Even if your circumstances are telling you otherwise, you're going to have to believe that I'm growing in the right direction. It doesn't mean that you've got it right and you're definitely not wrong in what you're doing, because I know I've made many mistakes as a businesswoman. But even your mistakes, especially when you're a Christian, even your mistakes lead you to the truth about yourself. You know, once I have a mentor, and we had a meeting, we were having meetings regularly. He was mentoring me, a very well-established, fairly known businessman in his space. And he had been mentoring me for I think about a year. I had gone to a meeting with one of my own mentees, and I was leaving, and I was really excited about what she was going to achieve and what we had discussed. And I was excited, thinking, this is going to be so great. I can't wait to see her progress. Now, at the end of that meeting, I was now on my way to my own meeting with my mentor. It just happened to coincide on the same day. Then I began to ask myself, as I sat on the bus, what changes have happened since I started being mentored by this man? And I realized my business hasn't changed. Nothing's grown. So I then asked myself, we know that he is kosher. We know he is legit. We know he's a successful businessman. We know that he has successfully grown household name brands. So it cannot be him. It must be me. So I then start looking at myself, thinking, what could it be? And I realized that whenever I was with him, and for you to do this and find out the truth about what you're thinking, you've got to be authentic, and you've got to be willing to face the truth about who you are. And it's a daily practice. It's not one day you wake up and say, hey, today I'm going to be authentic, tomorrow I don't think so. You have to practice being authentic. And then you also have to get into the practice of introspection, which can be uncomfortable, because you're looking into your mind, and where you have embellished your personality and you've embellished who you are as far as you can see. When you look inside your mind and you look inside yourself, you're going to see a very raw, stripped out image of yourself that may not be pretty. And so you've got to be willing to accept whatever it is you see, but also not judge yourself for who you are, but embrace yourself. So I'm looking inside and I'm like, okay, what's the problem? And I realized that whenever I was with him in our meetings, I felt such a sense of inadequacy that I didn't want to. I felt like I was tiny compared to him. I felt I was unsuccessful compared to him. I imagined his bank account and I thought mine is dead and empty. And I was comparing myself to this retail giant and falling short. And so the emotion of feeling small and feeling inadequate inspired my next action. And you know what my next action was? how can I prop myself up whenever I'm in those meetings? So whenever I went for the meeting, I would talk about all my successes and, hey, I had that celebrity client the other day and this happened and that happened. All of that was not doing anything for my growth. All of it wasn't doing anything for my growth. And what ended up happening was my intention is what was manifested. People talk about you'll get the desire of your heart. God will give you the desire of your heart. Whatever you want to do, you can do, and all of that stuff. You can desire as much as you want to, but your intention is not the same as your desire. My desire was really to grow as a businesswoman. I wanted to grow. I wanted my business to grow. I wanted him to help me, but my intention always jumped in just before my desire came out. And the intention was, what am I feeling on the inside? Your intention is driven by your emotions. My emotion of being small drove me to prop myself up in every single meeting. And guess what happened? Because well, you're obviously doing really well. Just keep doing what you're doing.
That wasn't the reality, was it?
Yeah. I mean, keep doing what I'm doing was giving me the same results. So there was no growth. So I was presenting a different image, not because I was being deceptive, but because of my emotions, because of how I felt. And the lie that would have caused me to act in that manner and to feel that way would be a lie that says I'm supposed to be at a certain level by now. And people say that all the time. Oh, I've been in business for, and I'm not going to lie. I feel sometimes I still say that, like I caught myself saying that only last week, like, oh my goodness, I've been in business for X number of years. By now I should be doing this. And that's a lie that can just kick off a whole load of stuff. Like it happened to me. And that's a way that's one of the mind blocks that you can have. And you deal with that through introspection.
Awesome. So, gosh, I'm hearing so many things, so many things that you've mentioned. And the last bit I spoke about is so powerful. I heard that like twice or thrice this month already. And when I hear things repeatedly, it's just saying that that's what you're supposed to be hearing at that point in time, which is accept where you are, right? It's part of your journey. And just like you said, Chooks, because of pressures of life, because of the society, it could even be family pressures or friend pressures where you feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing better now. I should be at this level by now. I should be making this X amount by now. So there's that pressure that allows you not to be introspective, just like you mentioned, not really look within yourself. And just accept that, okay, this is part of the journey. This is where God wants you to be. And you also mentioned about the power of your words, I believe. When your friend spoke, and then you absorbed that. And to me, that sounds like we need to be wary about what we're listening to, the environment where we place ourselves in.
Absolutely.
So because that will affect our thoughts and our emotions and the outputs of our lives. So we have to be very intentional about, the people that we allow to speak into our lives.
Exactly.
And then you also talked about authenticity and being introspective. We tend to, this jet age, we tend to just get up and go through life. We rush, bang, bang, bang. We go to bed, wake up, without really thinking. And so I think what you said is so powerful, to be able to just sit back and think about the day, think about what you said, think about the things that you did and why you did those things. So thank you so much. That's some powerful tools. And you've also shared some of your experiences, because I was going to ask you to share your success stories on how you removed mind blocks. And I think you've done some of that already when you spoke. And the physical success stories that, being able to shift those things brought into your life. You've already shared some of that, when you talked with your mentor, but is there anything that you feel like you want to add that might help people?
Yeah, I'd add, when I was going to open my shop, I was scared. Like I mean, it was such a huge step for me. A lot of companies that start off online grow into a physical space. And sometimes it's the other way around. They've been physical for a while, then they get a website. But I didn't grow into a physical space, even though I was online. I literally just jumped into one because I was not at the level that that on paper, I wasn't on the level that I should have. And so, but at the same time, it was the next logical step for me to take. That was what I needed to do, because the kind of products that we sell high-end furniture for babies and children. People want to see it in person before parting with their money. There's no way that you can describe enough how beautiful or comfortable a piece of furniture is without you trying it out. We knew we needed to have a physical space, and it needed to be in the right location as well. So I did one of the tools, and again, this is on my podcast, and I talk about this. I run a mindset mentoring course, and it's one of the modules that we did, or one of the topics we did in one of the modules, which is curating your bank of evidence. And your bank of evidence is really the proof and the evidence that you're going in the right direction. It is like looking at your vision or your goal and dissecting it so that you can see the components of it, and then looking for the pieces as you walk towards the goal. Because I believe that on our path are the pieces of our dreams, and we just need to keep our eyes peeled and be focused, and we'll pick them up. So one of the ways that I did that, the physical ways, because I know and I understand, and I have understood for a long time, that my mind needed to be fed by my spirit, and my mind needed to be fed with the word of God. And that was spiritual truths, undiluted, unadulterated, going into my mind, which is great. But then every day I wake up and I face the world, and I'm being bombarded with the very opposite of what my spirit is feeding my mind with. So I understood at the time that I needed to feed my mind also from the world, which is when we talked about environment earlier on. But what I then did was take it a step further to look for physical proof that my dream was valid. One day I went to Harrods and went to their children's clothing department, and I saw children's dresses. I saw one particular dress selling for £22,000. And that was not their most expensive dress. I think the most expensive dress, if I recall, up until that time was 50 something thousand pounds for a little girl's dress that she's going to grow out of. So I'm looking at just wow, right? And I thought to myself, if anyone can buy a dress for their child their clothes start from about £3,000, 10,000, 12,000. So let's remove the 22K and just say 7K or even 3K for a dress for a little girl. Then surely they can spend 1,000, 2,000 pounds on a cut with me. And that was one of the pieces of evidence that I held on to. There was a shop on Kings Road at the time. I don't know if they're still there, called, I'm not going to say the name, but they sold socks. And every time I would drive or go, I'm on the bus and I'm going back home, because this is leading up to me opening the shop now, but I was visiting quite frequently to either talk to neighbors and even start painting and stuff like that. I would go past Kings Road and see a shop that sold socks. And I thought, if you can pay your rent selling socks, surely I could pay my rent selling furniture. And so that's one of the stories that I love to share, because I think that anyone can adopt it. Anyone can look around them for evidence that what they're believing is true. I also saved little things like friends helping me out. Friends will send me money randomly and say, hey, this is for your window display. This is for this. I just want to bless you. One of the most touching ones was, because I live in Bromley, and I used to have an office in Bromley, and the guy who helped move my office from Bromley to Kings Road, which is like on a Saturday, middle of the day, we're talking an hour and 15 minutes. And he had his little van. He had to make about 3 trips. And he was my delivery and assembly guy. He used to deliver and assemble stuff to my clients for me at the time. And I paid him, obviously, that was his job. And he was a freelancer, I wasn't employing him. I just paid him cash whenever he was done. he did about 3 trips for me that day. And when I said to him, just send me the invoice, he said, your invoice is 0. I just want to help you. I'm so happy for you. I mean, I literally couldn't believe it. I couldn't. We don't have a relationship outside of here. This is the address, take the furniture there, assemble it. And he did that. So those were the things that I picked up as my bank of evidence, that this is proof, this is evidence that I'm supposed to be doing this. Rockstar Story is another one. I again have I have a standalone course called Write Your Rockstar Story, but it's also part of my mentoring course as well. Every single person has a rockstar story. Your story, the story of your life, is your rockstar story. It's just about how you tell it. And I learned to rewrite my story, having lost everything in 2008 in the recession, literally lost everything we owned, had to move in with friends. And I was also pregnant with my 4th son. And I started my business from scratch with $75. All of that is part of my rockstar story. That story, once upon a time, was one I was embarrassed and ashamed of, because there were people who were going around talking about it. Oh, they've lost everything and they're back to England, and they were gloating and so on. And even if there weren't people doing that, it's not exactly a trophy type story to say that you've lost everything. So exactly. It was a story I ran away from, until I learned, I read in a magazine, an article where 2 different stories were told of the same woman. The first one talked about how she struggled and how she worked as a cleaner in a law firm and this and that. The second one didn't mention she was a cleaner, just said that she worked in a law firm and this happened and that happened. And it was a very upbeat, hopeful story. And the article ended with a request to the reader to rewrite their story. And I didn't need to be told twice. I rewrote my whole story of losing everything and coming back. And by the time I was done and I looked at that piece of paper, I was so encouraged. And I thought, whoever's I've written about here, I want to be her. So every time I got discouraged, I'll pick up that piece of paper and I'll read it. And without meaning to, I memorized the story. And so when I ran through a series of events, met a woman, a reporter for a newspaper, a national newspaper, and she said, how did you even get into this? My rockstar story came out of my mouth without me intending to. I have told that story. Every single major every major point of my business, touch point of my business, was because I told the story. We were in House of Fraser for a few months because it didn't work out, but to get the concession into House of Fraser in the first instance was my story. I just told them my story. I received an invitation to 10 Downing Street to have cocktails with the Prime Minister. It was my story. I didn't solicit for it. I didn't ask to be invited. I didn't know anything was going on, but someone heard my story, who told someone, and like, she's got to be there. So your learning to tell your story is such a key factor that I think every single person should learn how to do so.
Amazing. Thank you, Tokes. And I don't know if it's the same thing. So I listen to Steve Harvey a lot. You know, because it's always popping up on my timeline on Instagram, and he always has these inspirational stories. And I was listening to one yesterday, I think, and he said that he said to people, he said, write down everything, every single thing that you desire, that you want to happen in your life. Just write it down. It doesn't matter what you have or what you can't see. Just write everything down and believe God for it. And also, I listened to the Hallelujah Challenge by Nathaniel Bassett, a Nigerian gospel artist. And so there's one going on at midnight Nigerian time, which is 11 p.m. UK time. And he said the same thing yesterday. And he said that when he was little, no, not little, when he was younger, he wrote everything that things that he wanted, things that will seem like at that time, because of where he was then, it would seem like, are you crazy? You know, but that he's living in that dream right now, the things, because he's, you know, he produces hits after hits, he's in different countries, he's doing great and amazing thing, you know, for the Lord. And he says that everything that he's able to do now, and it all stems from that listed, was able to write most of the things anyway. So it sounds like the Rockstar Story, is that similar?
I guess
The
it
way
is
of
similar. It's similar. It's even more proactive, really, than the
mm,
Rockstar Story, because it's preempting what's going to happen and then writing it. While the Rockstar Story is more like it's geared towards you if you are lacking confidence because of what you've been through, or the story of your life doesn't inspire you at all, or you have something to be ashamed of. Sort of the other way around, but I absolutely love what you just shared, and I think I'm going to join in tonight at 11. I have been seeing things about it, but I didn't even know that it was
yeah,
on.
it's amazing. It's been amazing.
Really powerful. There's a scripture that says, write the vision and make it clear. I believe that writing, I believe in vision boards as well, which is a form of writing like Nathaniel Bassey did, just in pictorial form, isn't it? Vision boards are powerful because whatever it is you write down, and I also even do an exercise again called Write a Day in Your Life, where you write a day in your future. So there's really, really powerful writing and reading and seeing what you've written down as though it's real.
So the Rockstar Story, let me circle that back again. So from my understanding, is it a way of presenting, when they say that make your message, sort of like, is a way of saying what you've gone through, but in a more powerful way?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be the story of your entire life. You can pick one moment in your life that was pivotal. And I wrote it because I was ashamed of it, and I didn't want to be ashamed of it anymore. And there were certain people who were telling the story for me in a version that suited them, that made me look really bad. So I needed to take that power away from them. Like, you know what, I'll do the telling myself. Thank you very much. And that's what it did. But I had no idea that it was going to open the doors that it did for me. I didn't know it was going to have that effect on me even mentally. But I'm so glad I did it.
Yeah, I was going to ask what were the effects that you had on you mentally,
Listen, I mean, those days I was crying all the time, because we lost everything and I couldn't see a way forward. And I was pregnant as well, and trying to start a business from scratch and literally coming to terms with so much at the same time. But when I wrote it, it gave me hope that there was my days were not over. My story wasn't ended. There was more ahead, because the story ends with, in the article I wrote, the story ended with the one saying, the Rockstar version of the story said she now runs her own business, and her new book is going to be out next spring. Whereas the sub version, that's the non-Rockstar version, said she's trying her hand at running a business and she hopes to write a book someday. So
yeah, go on.
I was going to say that one is very, is left to whatever life throws at me is what is going to happen to me. Whereas the other is very decisive, as though I planned my life and this is where I'm headed.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So it just sounds like the ability for you to take control of your life and take ownership of your life and write your own story your own way, and not let anyone tell the story of your life for you. Don't let anyone come and sob, right? Is that the word? Cry anyway over your situation and be like, oh, I could have been better. No, you just stand up and take charge of it. Absolutely. That sounds like what Chuks is saying, and you just run with it. I listened to one of the emojis I listen to a lot. Bishop Oyedepo is always saying stuff like, when people are asking that, has he ever, as bad things ever happened to him and stuff like that, he's always saying something that's quite funny. He'll be like, oh, maybe it happened and I didn't know.
Wow.
Maybe I wasn't aware. So like the frame of mind is always positive and always on the go, and not letting anyone pull you down with their words.
Yeah.
So you shared so many awesome tools with us this evening. Are there any more tools that that you want to share to help people develop a healthy mindset? For example, entrepreneurs, because I'm an entrepreneur as well, and I know that there's that what's it called now? Imposter syndrome that a lot of entrepreneurs have, and I've heard a lot of people, and it's when people feel like I'm not deserving of this.
That's right.
I'm not, even people that are very successful in business, I've heard them talk about still having that syndrome, and they saying that they just feel like I'm not deserving of this success. I shouldn't be the one here. Why am I the one here? You know, it should be somebody else. I don't qualify for this, you know.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's another form of mindset shift that we need to
Yes.
move away from. So, like, are there any other tools that you can share that will help people listening who are going through different sort of challenges and being able to
Mhm.
just refocus their mind?
Mm. I use my number one tool is journaling. I journal almost every day.
Right.
And it's not about the frequency, it's about the intention behind it. So I journal different kinds of writings based on what I'm trying to achieve or where I'm at. One way that a very common tool I use is so I'd use stress, for example, when I'm worried and I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed with everything that needs to be done or everything that is not being done. I grab a piece of paper, open my journal, and I empty my mind on paper. I literally just dump every single thing on my thoughts on paper, whether it's true, whether it's not true, whether it's good, whether it's bad, it doesn't matter. It all goes on there. And then I start to look at them. And obviously my focus is on the ones that are causing me stress or suffering. And I look at them individually, and you'd notice that, say there's a list of 10 different problems I've written down. I'd noticed that out of the 10, 5 of them are actually repetitions of the same problems.
Right.
So in the end, maybe there's just 5 real issues. It's just that they've presented themselves differently. And then I look at the 5 and I ask the question, is it fact or assumption? Because a lot of times we make assumptions over something that is not even real. And the fact will be, what is the fact? The fact is that I have a roof over my head, blah, 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 blah. And then you list all the facts as it relates to this fear that you have. The assumption, which is the fear, is that, oh, I have no money to pay my rent next week and I'm going to get tossed out. That's an assumption. But what is the fact? What is true today? Today, right now, while we're sitting here, I actually don't even owe the rent. I haven't been thrown out. I'm projecting into next week, and I'm imagining that next week is going to be rough. So that's one of the things I do. Another way I journal is gratitude. When I can't seem to see anything to be grateful for because all of my attention is focused on this one problem, I start to write a list of everything I'm grateful for. And before long, you'll come out of that funk. With regards to imposter syndrome, I mean, if you have a good friend, my friends are a blessing in my life. Like I call them, when I call them, if I'm feeling rubbish or feeling like crap, they remind me who I am. They tell me who I see. I remember one time I went for a networking event, and I've not really loved networking. There are moments I'm cool with it. There are times I'm like, I don't feel, but I was in this particular relatively prestigious place, and I didn't feel like I belonged there. So I go there and I'm feeling very uncomfortable, and I'm on my own and I'm trying to mingle, and I'm like, goodness, people can tell I'm a fraud. I don't belong here. And it was in my borough, Kensington and Chelsea. I don't belong here. They can tell that, and all these negative thoughts were coming through my mind. And eventually I left. So I called my friend Susie on my way home, and I told her, and she just like, where is that even coming from? And by the time she was done with me, I just felt so daft. I'm like, what was wrong with me? Yeah, so having good people in your life is key. If you don't have good people in your life, at least get rid of anyone that's not good, because they're gonna pull you down. So those are some of the tools that I would recommend. You can also, if your writing is not your thing, you can record voice messages. There are moments I have what I call an opening of a portal, where in that moment I can see my brilliance, I can see my future, I can see, and I just have this, I mean, the high that I'm on in those moments when I'm able to see, like, there are no obstacles, nothing can stop me. I feel empowered. I write those moments down, or I record them. So you can voice record what you're seeing and voice record the confidence. It's almost like bottling up that feeling because you're going to need it again. And I have a note, I use Evernote, and I have a note on there that says, in case you're feeling discouraged. And it was a note that I had written when I was feeling on top of the world. And I told myself in that note how incredibly gifted I was and how able I was, and how anything that looked like I couldn't do it was a smokescreen and it was deception. I was not to believe it. And I ended with, you're not always going to feel that this way, but when you don't, come back and read this. This here is the truth. Don't believe your feelings. And so those are some of the ways that I would say it's just constant work in progress. It's not one of those things that you do once and then you're fine. It's just really like you called them tools. I love that, because it's a tool that you have and you've got to keep utilizing with each day that passes.
Amazing, awesome. And I love, when you talked about moments, I think God understands that we need those kind of, I call it Kairos moments, where it gives you what's the best word to use to describe that? Just glimpses into the future, such that it creates an outburst of energy and allows you to power through. And so, like, when you're experiencing those kind of moments, I totally agree with you. And also, when you talked about gratitude, being, having a gratitude journal, or concentrating on being grateful, can take you out of that dark situation, the place where your mind is unable to function. And we're thinking about all those things. If you can just do what Toke said, practice being grateful, have your gratitude journal, and just sometimes I love praise, so I just dedicate like 30 minutes every day for 1 week. If I notice that I'm in that season and the enemy wants to use that attack, I'm like, okay, this is a period of praise, and that's it. And also, thank you for sharing about the imposter syndrome and having your power crew around you. That's so very important, being able to have people that you can talk to and can encourage you. Because I also remember when I started my business and I was going to go, I registered as a limited business. I don't know if I shared it with you before, Tokes. And the business was called Vanilla Vogue at that time. And then I got a letter from the COO of Vogue. And I was like, okay. And that really scared me. Like, okay, I'm just a tiny girl in this, corner of the universe. How do they even know what they're coming for me and asking this, corner of the universe? And that made me pull back a little bit. And thank God I had people around me who were like, no, you challenge them. No, don't. I didn't end up challenging them, but they really had my back. And that helped me to get back on, like, okay, yes, I can do this. I've got this. So thank you so much for sharing that. Those are very powerful tools, I must say. So we're just going to be wrapping up really soon. Thank you so much, Tokes. You've been awesome. And I just have 1 or 2 more questions on this list. And one of them is, so how, if there are people that are struggling to reach the goals, they have goals that they've set up, and all those tools they use, journaling and voice notes, and some of the things that you've mentioned are really powerful to help us move away from, what's the word, is it drought that I'll use, or not being able to do what we're supposed to do. What are other ways that you will advise people who are really struggling to reach their goals? So they started and they're having all this thoughts, or all this ideas, or people telling them things, or the world is throwing things at them, and they've tried journaling, probably they've tried being grateful, but they're just not able to reach the goals. They're really struggling to deliver. Is there any word of advice that you would give to them? Any other thing that they can do about the state where they're in? Because like you said, when you were talking about being with your mentor, it's always about the person, right? It's not about, mostly not about anything else. There's
Yeah,
usually you as a person that you need to deal with. So it's like, is there
exactly.
any other advice that you can give such people who are about to throw in the towel, even though it's just February, but they've tried and they're just like, you know what, I don't think I can do this anymore.
Mhm.
I just want to throw in the towel. I just want to give up. I'm done.
I so hear, I hear those people. Honestly, you guys are my people. But I'd say take an inventory of your goals and whittle it down to just one. So have a look at all of these goals and say, okay, if I was told that I could only have one, I was guaranteed that one goal will be manifested at whatever season this year, next year, whenever it is you want it. Which one will it be? And then you want to throw your life into it. You know, you want to give it your all. If you need a mentor, you should get a mentor. Mentors are great because you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There is absolutely no way that we can have all of the life's experiences that would be good for us, you know, so we borrow from other people's experiences. In whittling down your goals, you want to know which ones are a desire and which ones are just an intention. What am I intending? There's a difference between the two. And once you've chosen your goal, then give it everything you've got, you know, create a routine around it. That's something that I'm currently working on for myself, is having a routine. What's the barest minimum I can do every single day to make sure it happens, and make sure you do it. Even if you do nothing else, you have to do that one thing every single day. And there's a well-known saying that says little drops of water make the ocean, little grains of sand. So that would be my suggestion.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tokes. Thank you so much. And there's something I heard someone say as well, that being consistent trumps
Mhm.
intelligence even.
Mm,
Like if you can be consistent with something,
that's
you'll
right.
be amazed at the result that you can get over time.
Yeah,
You know,
I
just
love that.
you being consistent, just doing those things. And just like you said, Tokes, thank you for that. Whittle down the goals. So
Mm,
I mean, it sounds like maybe the person might have a mountain of things that they're thinking of achieving, and um it's not allowing them to be able to focus. So like, just whittle it down to something that you can, something that's achievable that you can work with. So you're a very successful entrepreneur, I have to say, and
yeah.
we're proud to have you in here. What are some of the key success factors that you will say um have helped you along the way, or
When you said successful, I thought, no.
now you are.
But I think focus for sure. You need to have a sense of focus because on your journey, there are going
Mm,
to be more attractive options that show up. And you're
mm,
even going to have logical reasons to go after those options. I can't tell you the number of people who have come to me to say that they're starting a business, and 3 months later they have started, but then now they're pivoting into something totally
something
different,
else.
and another 3 months and then they're gone. You know, there's a story that I
Mm,
tell about when I was in boarding house. I went to boarding school in the north of Nigeria. It was a military boarding school and it was tough. I remember
mm.
when my mom came to visit me during half term. I think it was my first half term in Form 1. She came to see me and I was telling her all the horror stories of seniors. They slapped me and that one did
Oh
this.
dear.
And she said to me, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Mom, I want to change schools. I want to go to
Mm,
Lagos because my family lived in Lagos." And she said to me, the problem is all boarding schools have got this situation going. You can
mm.
move to Lagos, you'll be closer to the house. However, the problems will remain. It will just be with a different set of seniors and in a different location. Why don't you deal with the trouble you know now? Why don't you deal with the devils, is what she said,
Yeah.
now, instead of being introduced to new ones later.
Mm,
And I stayed, and I'm glad I did, because now, even in business, we've faced some very, very tough seasons in my company. And even then, quit and do what,
mm.
What are my options? What am I going to do? Because no matter what business I go into, I'm going to be faced with the same problems that I'm facing right now. So I might as well sit down and just deal with it than going off and trying to find an easier solution. And it also leads me to the subject of resilience, which is something we also have, especially in this season. I don't know if it's the state of mind that I'm in, or if in reality the world just feels so heavy in this season. You know, we've had right off the back of the Ukraine war, we've then had, you know, first prior to that was the pandemic, then the war, then we've had Brexit is, you know, dealing with. Then we've got the earthquake in Turkey that just happened. And we've had, you know, lost the Queen, we have the King. London, they don't want you to drive anymore. They, you know, the 20 mile per hour speed limit is absolutely ridiculous. There's so much that seems to be going on that just feels like the pressure is on. And if there was ever a time to be resilient or to practice resilience, it is now. You know, now is not the time to be blown around by the wind. Now is not the time to look for comfort, you know. And it's I'm speaking to myself as well. It will give you all the reasons to quit. The life that we have today, some of it doesn't make sense. We struggle to find employees because there are people who have decided that they would rather not work, you know. I know many people have gone and they're doing their own thing, but there are many people who have just decided, that's it, I'm not working. I'm just going to stay on the dole. It's easier. And not because of laziness per se, but because they realize that the value is in family life and all of that. And that, you know, and all of the taxes and all of that is just like, what's the point working? I might as well just sit at home. So there are valid reasons to want to quit, but resilience will keep you going. There are people who will support your decision to quit as well, or not to keep going or to pivot. You will find people. And I'd also say, just be kind-hearted. People say that life is a dog eat world, dog eats dog world. That's the world we live in. It might be, but I think that we can be astute, we can be wise, but we can also be kind and not nasty.
Absolutely. That's a great way to round up. And I was laughing to myself when you were talking because an analogy popped into my mind, you know. It's like when you get married and you really love each other and you have that lovey-dovey season the first few years, and the lovey-dovey season generally always extends into a matured kind of love. And that kind of love is a choice, more more like I choose you, you know, and it's not all about the fancy head turning whatever, you know, it's the choice.
Intentional.
Exactly. Intentional, you know. And if you see anyone who's been married by the grace of God for like decades, they will say the same thing to you, like, you know, it's not about the you know, M&B when we're growing up.
Oh,
the
yes.
M&B.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Tall, dark, and handsome.
I know, right?
His morning stubble.
Yeah. It's none
They were
about.
all tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh, you
all
know,
of them.
right? They created all the deceptive ideas about, you know, marriage and stuff. But
I think they have robbed many people of their future spouse.
You know, I know.
Yeah. And led many people to marry the wrong one too.
Oh yeah. So yeah, just be intentional, make that choice and stick with it. And the same thing, if you see an entrepreneur who is doing very well and you love what they're doing, at that point to them, it may not even feel like success to them, you know, because you're looking at them, you're like, oh, this person has got it going. But to them, they know the grind that they're having to do every day, the blood and the sweat and the hard work. So, I mean, you just be prepared to do the hard work. That's what it is. There will be the grind, and you have to be intentional, choose to keep on doing that, and you will get there. I feel like even if you look at the Richard Bransons of this world, they will tell you, I'm sure there will have been times when they'll have thought, you know, this is it, but they just stuck with it. And that's why we're all looking up there and I'm like, oh yeah, the big boys and the top 1%, which we're all gonna get there, right? So the top 1%.
Amen. Amen to that.
So like being intentional, just stick with it. Don't give up too easily. Look to God, build up your faith, and just have faith that it's going to be well, that everything's going to be well, and be positive, speak the right words, use the tools that Talks has shared, about building up your mind, and it's going to be a great one for you. If you're listening to us, thank you for coming on board tonight, and we hope that we've been able to help, drop some good tips in your mind about how to get going, how to keep your mind winning, and how to keep yourself winning. And it's going to be all right. You're going to get all the great things that God has said you're going to get, and we're all going to keep achieving greatness in our lives. Thank you so much, Talks. It's been awesome having you.
It's been great chatting.
Yeah. And lovely nightcap as well. Lovely way to end.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I don't want to go, but we have to go. Yeah.
We have to go. Well, we have the Hallelujah Challenge to do.
Oh yes, looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. Thank you.
Yeah. So God bless everyone. Have a lovely night, and jump on the Hallelujah Challenge if you're listening. You will love it. Just go on YouTube, and I'm not part of them, and they don't even know me, but I'm blessed by it so much. And I think it will be a blessing to you. God bless you guys.
God bless. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Tolu.
Good night.
Night.
Bye.